Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko, and we begin tonight with a public tribute to Spencer Webb, the 22-year-old and Oregon football player who in many ways overcame the odds, making his untimely death last week that much more tragic. Alma McCarty joins us now. Alma, Webb is being remembered for what he brought to the gridiron, but also for his compassion and kindness.
Well, David, you really got a sense of how hard Spencer Webb worked to get to this place in his life and just how much he cared for the people in it. He was living his dream, and it's clear that his legacy and spirit will live on.
It's hard to explain losing a friend like him, but he was somebody who was easily loved by everybody.
Friends, family, and fellow Oregon Ducks spent Thursday night remembering Spencer Webb at Autzen Stadium. The 22-year-old died suddenly after an accidental fall at Triangle Lake, west of Eugene.
Super nice, never got a big head. No, he wasn't too good for anybody.
He loved to be present and engaged with people. And I want people to know that. I want people to know that he was a sweet, sweet gem of a kid.
He could connect.
Head coach Dan Lanning echoing those same thoughts during the memorial service inside.
He could talk to you for 3 minutes, and by the end of the conversation, he would know where you're from and what makes you tick, and maybe even your social security number.
Teammates Cam McCormick and Isaiah Crocker said getting to know him was a gift.
Although I have tremendous pain in my heart and I miss my brother every day, I will treasure all of our moments together and will remember him always and forever.
He was the rose that grew from concrete. Coming from nothing, he learned to turn tragedy into beautiful triumph. And that's where me and Spence connected the most.
Spencer's brother and sister-in-law, Cody and Alicia Webb, described Spencer as a young man who overcame many challenges in life. The couple raised him through his high school years. Spencer got his grades up, earning a scholarship at Oregon.
A lot of what I was in his life was tough love. That's how I coached him. That's how I loved him. I mean, I was on his butt. But hey, he freaking was able to take those talents and get to where he's at.
He said, "To me, age is just a number. It's a number that counts how many years you have been on this earth to bless people." Spencer considered himself forever blessed, and he had 22 wonderful years to bless people and did exactly that.
Those who spoke expressed how hard it will be to live without him, but said they will always remember him and try to live like him.
I hope that's the legacy that's left behind in all of you, from a young man named Spencer Webb, who truly was special, and he loved well.
Just such a tremendous loss. Instead of flowers, the team is asking for donations to be made to the Spencer Webb Kids Scholarship Fund at his alma mater in Sacramento, Christian Brothers High School.
A few jokes and a lot of tears in just 22 years old. Thank you, Alma. Our other local top story tonight, Portland's mayor has declared a state of emergency over gun violence. Part of the solution now, he says, is to centralize city resources. A program he announced today is called Safer Summer PDX. It's going to focus on the small group of people behind the majority of shootings in Portland. The plan calls for outreach and interventions in gun violence hotspots. The timing here is in response to a new independent study shows homicides more than doubled in Portland between 2019 and 2021. The report also showed more than half of the city's gun violence during that same period was what's called group member involved, which includes gang activity. The mayor says the new plan is going to use community-based outreach workers, not law enforcement, to connect with the folks who are most at risk.
Emergency declarations can get results that the status quo just can't. It organizes the work needed within a unified command structure and provides the agility and the ability to address gun violence in our community.
Portland's now aiming for a 10% reduction in shootings and gun violence deaths over the next 2 years. We asked whether that goal is too low. The mayor says that is the minimum, and the city hopes to do a lot better. Tonight, we also want to take you to Washington, where the January 6th committee held its final public hearing and focused on what President Trump did and did not do during that attack on the Capitol. Now, one of the most startling revelations that Vice President Mike Pence's Secret Service detail feared for their lives and even called family members to say goodbye. Here's Susan McGinnis.
Committee will be in order.
A dramatic hearing number 8 for the January 6th committee.
You could count me among those who was hoping to see an unequivocal, strong statement clearing out the Capitol.
The panel laying out in prime time a minute-by-minute account of Donald Trump's conduct during the violent Capitol insurrection.
President Trump did not fail to act during the 187 minutes between leaving the ellipse and telling the mob to go home. He chose not to act.
We fight like hell.
From the end of Trump's speech on the ellipse to his video message to the attackers more than 3 hours later.
So go home. We love you. You're very special.
The committee juxtaposing the rioters clashing with police
Keep pushing.
We need strong, angry patriots.
against a president doing nothing but watch it on TV, all the while ignoring pleas to call off the mob.
There needs to be a public announcement fast that they need to leave the Capitol.
Former Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Matthews testified about a Trump tweet saying that Vice President Mike Pence let him down.
January 6, 2021 was one of the darkest days in our nation's history, and President Trump was treating it as a celebratory occasion with that tweet.
Showing even a day later, Trump refusing to say the election was over.
I don't want to say the election's over. Congress has certified the results without saying the election's over.
The committee weaving a narrative it believes shows Trump's lack of action represents a dereliction of his duty as president.
For hours, Donald Trump chose not to answer the pleas from Congress.
And that he broke his oath of office. Susan McGinnis, NBC News, Washington.
More hearings coming in September, by the way. They are some of the most recognizable insects in the world, but today scientists announced the monarch butterfly, beloved by many, is now endangered. Though, as Catherine Cook reports, there's a lot each and every one of us can do to help bring them back from the brink.
At Cornell Farm Nursery in Southwest Portland, every flower is something to behold. And so many are more than just pretty. They attract pollinators, like hummingbirds, bees, and butterflies, the latter being top of mind.
Especially seeing the rapid decline of monarchs.
On Thursday, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature deemed migrating monarch butterflies as endangered, a critical step closer to extinction. The group estimates the monarch population in North America has declined between 22% and 72% over the last decade, depending on how they're measured. Scientists hope the trend will reverse and suggest including specific plants in your garden can help.
Like non-invasive butterfly bush, agastache, and then of course we're highlighting the milkweed.
Sarah Finkel with Cornell Farm says there are 5 varieties of milkweed native to Oregon. 2 are native to this area, including this one called showy milkweed.
All of these are great sources of nectar for mature butterflies, so that's how they're getting their day-to-day sugar and energy. But this is the critical plant on which they're laying their eggs and the caterpillars are hatching. And this is the food that the caterpillars need to eat when they're first born.
Monarchs do, in fact, come to Portland.
In February, volunteers with the Portland Monarchs began creating a monarch butterfly habitat outside Pittock Mansion. The group is dedicated to learning about and helping monarchs. A $2,000 grant from the U.S. Forest Service paid for milkweed and other nectar plants for the project.
I think it's wonderful. There are people here who care about the monarch butterflies, who care about Portland, who, we can't fix all the problems, but we can make a little bit of it better.
Unlike the butterfly habitat at Pittock Mansion, this one along Northeast 24th near Fremont is very well established. And there's this free seed station. Since planting season began, they've given away more than 1,500 of these seed packets. That's a lot of potential butterfly habitat. Back at Cornell Farm, Sarah cautions against using pesticides in pollinator gardens, and she thinks of the big picture.
Our health and their health are really closely connected. We as humans are dependent on pollinators for our food, but then once you start caring about pollinators, it's really easy to care about them for their own sake.
Call it another type of butterfly effect. In Southwest Portland, Catherine Cook, KGW News.